Hello, my CNC brothers and sisters. Welcome to another CNC Wednesday evening hangout. And I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft.
And I am Kate Tucker with Women Who CNC. And it's so
Yeah.
good to be back. Last couple of weeks have been a little rough, having a bit of a sick family, but I'm back, ready for action and ready to get back at it. So we've got a really interesting show for you tonight, and Garrett's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah. So for those of you, which are a good chunk of you who run a CNC machine and looking to start a CNC business, this is the video, the live to be on, because we are bringing on Ryan Drapela from Cutting It Close channel. You've probably seen him, and Ryan has built a very successful CNC business, and he has learned the ropes and has done well from it. And so fortunately, he has said yes, given it some of his time and out of his busy schedule to spend with us to ask your questions about CNC business. But first of all, we got to lay out the house rules so that everybody understands what we're doing and how we run things on this. So go ahead, Kate.
All right. So tonight, just so everyone watching is aware, we have a CNC business focused live tonight. This is going to be talking all about business. We're not going to be answering a lot of CNC questions, maybe a few along the way, but we're really here to learn from Ryan and all of his success and just have a really fun conversation about what it's like to genuinely know how to start your business, grow your business, and be really successful. So with that being said, we like to remind you that on the IDC Woodcraft YouTube channel and on the Women Who CNC YouTube channel, we do not tolerate any kind of crude, rude, or ugly comments. So if that's your MO, you might just want to do yourself a favor and go ahead and leave the room now, because you will be kicked off. So please keep your comments clean, kind, and just be friendly with everybody. That's just a good rule as being a human being, and especially for tonight. So also, if you do have questions for Ryan or for Garrett and I, please make sure to preface your question with the word question in capital letters. So then that way Julianne, Garrett's administrative coordinator, can star those questions for us in the background, and we can make sure to get those. Also, we do have a 9 p.m. cutoff time, so please make sure to get your questions in now, start thinking about them, and go ahead and pop those into the comments, and then we will be sure to do that. So, all right, what do you think, Garrett? Are you ready to get started?
Oh, just a minute. Just in the back end, we have, just so all know, we have our two IDC Woodcraft ladies, girls. I'm going to bring you in for a minute. And we got Julianne, as you know, who is making sure everything's copacetic in the back end of IDC Woodcraft, and Liberty, who is writing the notes on all your packages and making sure you get everything and answers your phone calls. So they will be in the background talking to you and just being part of the crowd. And as Mark Lindsay made a comment, for those of you who have stickers, send them to Liberty and Julianne. They want to get them on the refrigerator. All right, girls, I'm going to put you out in the back, and we'll catch you in a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Got you back again. Wrong one. Okay. All right. So, brothers and sisters, we have so many people on board right now. There's 350 of you at the moment who have joined, and grateful that we have so many CNC brothers and sisters on board. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time saying hello individually like we normally do. It'll just take this as a broad base. We are gathering together, community, and this whole thing is about learning how to build that CNC business. So we are going to bring out Ryan. So Ryan, here you come, friend. We got Ryan from Cutting It Close. Say hello, Ryan.
Hey, everybody, everywhere.
Pretty much. So the reason that Kate and I have asked Ryan to come on board is because he has built a very successful CNC business. And Ryan, you started from scratch from one machine, didn't you?
Yep. Started from one CNC on the CNC side, but originally started with a 75. I went to Harbor Freight and used that little 20% off coupon. You know, you find a little catalog, and got my first. It was a 10-inch sliding miter saw. It was my very first tool I purchased, and then everything with that $75 eventually led me to the CNC, et cetera. So.
All right. So give us a little bit of the backstory of the CNC journey, right? So you got a CNC journey, you built a business, you've built a multi-million-dollar business. And so, of course, the core of this is for people to ask, pick your brain. Well, how do they start? But first of all, share your journey.
Yeah. So, I went full-time woodworking when I was 16 is kind of when I went full-time, quit my summer job, right? I was a welder. I welded all through middle school since I was, 11, 12 years old. I was welding out gates and balconies and stuff. And so I quickly realized I started making cutting boards in my high school wood shop my sophomore year. And I realized if I sold, it was like 30 cutting boards, I could make more than working all summer, sweating in Texas, welding with beads of metal running down my boots and stuff like that. So I quickly realized that. And that's when I got the keys to the wood shop at the high school, talked to the teacher, talked to them real nice. And I started just making your basic Purple Heart, maple, striped cutting boards. I'm a big Aggie, so I sold them to every single Aggie I knew, Texas A&M. And started with that. Well, that kind of pushed me through high school. I did enough of that where it helped me buy my first truck, paid for all my gas, paid for all my lunch money, all of that good stuff through high school. And that's when I was 16 is when I bought my first miter saw. So we raised up on a farm. I had, we had a kind of a horse barn. So I'm working in a horse stall. I like pick the poop out of there and then like roll up all my saws and I'm like cutting stuff and, doing some clamps and whatnot. And gluing up my cutting boards, and I'd take them to school, plane them down, etc. And that led me through high school. When I got into college, I wanted to put myself through college. And so I just kept at it. And I was still just building cutting boards. I was building cutting boards and domino tables were my biggest sellers. And so the domino tables I would make down here, we got a big like Czech community. And so they love dominoes, playing 42, stuff like that. And so I was making a ton of domino tables and I would talk to these insurance agents and get these insurance agents to buy these tables from me and then donate them to these auctions because most insurance companies, they have to donate so much a year to these church functions and volunteer fire department auctions and stuff like that. So I would talk to them. They had to spend $500 and they typically donate it to just give them a $500 check. And I said, well, why don't you buy $500 worth of stuff from me and then you donate it? And I showed them the track record. Like my tables typically bring $800, so we're $1,000. So instead of giving them $500, you can actually make them $800 to $1,000 by buying the table from me. And so I did that quite a bit, and that helped me put myself through junior college. And when I was 19, I was in a local gas station, a local convenience store type gas station with some cutting boards, and I was doing all these inlays by hand. Right, I had a scroll saw. By then I bootstrapped everything, so I had a 16-inch open-end drum sander. I was still operating on the job site table saw, had a DeWalt miter saw I got for $400 when it went on sale on Black Friday at Home Depot. I'll still remember the day, like I was like crying. I was so excited. And so
those are the best days.
I got some of the tools in there and I wanted to do ingrain because I knew ingrain was better, blah, 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 blah. And so I got that Jet 16-inch to 32-inch open-ended drum sander, started working with that. And I was doing these inlays. And so I'd have these little inlays and I'd cut them out on the scroll saw and then pocket it with the router. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And so that's what kind of got me onto the CNC journey. And at the time, that was 2015. I believe my timeline's right, 2015. And I didn't look that hard. I saw a Laguna IQ and it was $6,000. And I definitely did not have $6,000 at the time. College was expensive and I was spending probably way too much money on beer. So I talked to my girlfriend's parents at the time and they let me $3,000. They went in half with me so I could buy that CNC, and they put it on a secured CD loan. And so I bought my CNC with the loan from my girlfriend at the time parents. And so they were a godsend. I still thank them to this day all the time because without that, I don't know what I probably would have bought it a year later, and who knows what could have happened. So that's when I first bought my CNC, but it was to inlay cutting boards, and that was the whole purpose of it, the whole entire purpose. And I started inlaying these amazing cutting boards, doing these V-carve inlays, right, doing these cool scenes, doing American flags, doing all that stuff. And I got them in like 6 different stores, and nobody was buying them. Absolute flop. Couldn't sell them. I was selling for $100, $125. They were beautiful, large, total flops. And so I decided.
Hey Ryan, I just want to say something. So for most of us here that are doing any type of CNC work, like inlays are probably a little bit more of an advanced technique.
Okay.
So you are no stranger like the rest of us that have started out and got these amazing CNCs, and we're like, don't know Vectric, don't know what we're doing, and we pick the hardest thing to figure out how to do. So I love that part of your story, that you are just like everybody else that gets a CNC. We're like, we want to do these big, amazing, like 3D wavy carves, and like you don't even know how to import a file, and you're like,
oh
okay.
Yeah. When I bought Vectric, I spent $600 on getting all the 3D models of like the Last Supper, the Deer in the Woods, those cool mantle scenes, right? The one with the duck hunter, the one with the cowboy riding on the chariot. Riding on the horse. All of that stuff. I thought I was gonna sell them hand over fist, and all my 6 gas stations I was in and all that stuff. And that was a total flop. And so
I want to interrupt on this for a second, because you're right. A lot of people want to dive right in. They think these are going to be the greatest things that they can on the planet that they can sell. And it's not. And it's the most work.
Yes,
they are. They're an incredible amount of work. I mean, even just getting like the numbers dialed in for an inlay is just crazy sometimes.
Especially the V-bit inlay. Those are interesting. Yes, the normal, straight flute inlays aren't too bad, but those V-bit ones, and then programming them is, it's not easy. Definitely not easy. So,
and it's not.
God love you. I had to interrupt on that little point, because I think we all go, yeah, we can relate to that. Like we got our CNC and picked the hardest project possible. So
that's
for a new beginner.
Yeah, good thing to bring out there, Kate. So everybody who's just getting into this, you're not alone when you want to just dive in and do all that big stuff. But there's baby
100%.
steps. Anyway, so Ryan, keep going.
So fast forward, I went to a local junior college from when I was 19, and so I still was able to drive home. Well, then I transferred up to another junior college closer to my girlfriend, like every 19-year-old. And so I moved up there, and so I would work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'd drive up Monday morning to school. And so I'd drive up to my Monday noon class, and I'd leave after my Thursday noon class. And so I was still putting in 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And I say that with like absolute certainty, because I would get 3 hours of sleep a night. I would go when I drive up Monday morning, I drink 2 Red Bulls by the nearest gas station. I'd drive straight into history or straight into physics. And I would sleep the whole entire class because I was so tired. And then I would sleep on Tuesday, homework Wednesday, party Wednesday night, go home Thursday. And I did that for the entirety of college, actually. So I did not, I stayed went to 3 football games in all of college when I went to Texas A&M, all that good stuff. Right. So that was kind of my schedule. But back to after all the inlaid cutting boards failed, I think my truck got hit. And I had some equipment, right? I had a drum sander. I think I upgraded to a saw stop at that time. Had my miter saw, had an edge sander, and my truck got hit, and I was literally staring at my computer, crying, all that good stuff. I just got on Etsy trying to sell inlaid cutting boards, and I was staring at my computer, just bawling my eyes out. It was 3 a.m, and this idea hit me because I watched this seminar there was this one product that did $250,000 on Etsy, and it was just one product. And I thought about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, why can't that be my product? And so right then and there, this bolt of amazingness just came into me, and the product popped into my head, and it was a docking station. And so that was on October 16th of 2019. That idea started, or 2016, sorry, 2016, that popped into my head. And I designed it that night, went out there, stayed out till I think 5 a.m, getting it all down. I had some Baltic birch plywood, 1/2-inch Baltic birch. I cut it out of. And the original design, I changed like one thing on it. And that was the thing that sold. I put it on Etsy, and by the end of the year, we did $45,000 in sales with it. And
wow,
that's kind of where the CNC journey started taking off.
Yeah. So first of all, for those of you who don't know, a docking station is just a place where you put your phone at. You can put your wallet on, things like that. Side note, for those who have joined just in the last little bit, we are talking to Ryan Drapela from Cutting It Close YouTube channel, and Ryan has built a multi-million-dollar business based on CNC, and so he's here to help you answer your questions about CNC business to help get you going. And as you just learned, his first year on Etsy, $45,000, and then from there you've expanded out. And
yeah. So I'll try to do a quick synopsis of that. Yeah. So we kept selling them, and I read enough books where it's like focus on the niche, focus on one thing, right? And so I stopped doing anything else. I was still trying to do custom work on the weekends, but like making domino tables and cutting boards and stuff like that. But I realized that making these things was way more profitable and whatnot. And so my IQ at the time would cut out 6 of these an hour. That was it. It cut out 6 an hour, and I didn't engrave them. I only had one stain color, etc. And then some people started copying me. And so I came out with 5 color options. And then some people started copying that on Etsy. So I came out with the ability to engrave. And I engraved it with a CNC instead of a laser, because people had a lot of cheap lasers they were engraving their names on. And I thought the CNC had a lot of good depth. I put a 60-degree V-bit in there, program a couple initials, and call it a day. And so I started doing that. Well, I kept doing that for the next 3 years. And over those 3 years, I poured some concrete over the horse stalls, finally, and boxed in a little room. And I bought a Laguna Swift 4x8, and I took my cut time. Now I could cut out 20 an hour instead of the 6 an hour. And then the IQ was just for engraving them. And so that first year I did how my growth on Etsy on just the docking stations went throughout college. I did 50,000, then I did 150, then I did 450, then I did 650, and then I did 1.8 million, all just with that docking station. So by the time I graduated college, I did over $1 million in sales with just that docking station alone. And that was the only product that I was making on Etsy. And I still had only those 2 CNCs. I still had that IQ that was engraving, and the Swift that was cutting 20 an hour. And I'd hire high school help, and I would come in on the weekends, help with the high schoolers. We had 5 or 6 crews. I had my friends from college coming down, and we would sand literally in the horse stalls, sitting on the dirt, sanding while the CNCs were cutting out. My dad and my mom, I hired them my sophomore year. When I turned 21, I hired my parents. So,
hired your parents.
Yes. So they were my second and third employee. When I started doing the docking stations, I knew I needed some sanding help. And so I hired Anthony, and he's still with me today. And he actually operates all the CNCs in the shop now. So he started off as a sander, and he would literally sand in a horse stall alone for 40 hours a week while I was in college, minus when I came down on Thursday. Wow. And then my parents would help ship during the week a little bit. And then on the weekends, I'd have my crew. We'd sand a whole bunch, stain a whole bunch. And then hired my parents at 21. My dad quit his job, and because he was a welder, and he was 60 years old. So that's kind of hard for a 60-year-old welder. So he quit his job. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So she started helping there.
Right. So at the end of the day, now you have a full-blown business. How many machines do you have?
So now I have 5 CNCs total currently. I have 2 Laguna IQs, 2 foot by 3 foot. I still have that original Laguna Swift, which is a 4x8. I have a Shop Saber IS series 5x10. And I used to have 2 of those side by side, but I sold one so I have a CR Unstrewed C series dual head, dual table CNC. And that CNC is a $300,000 CNC.
That's industrial level.
Yeah, that's industrial level.
Okay.
It's an animal.
And how many employees do you have now?
Currently we have 23 employees in the wood shop.
All right.
Wow.
All right. Well, that is one heck of a journey. And before we started here, you were talking a little bit, and you mentioned something about a mentor. All right, so you have a mentor? Do you?
I just keep in touch with a lot of different people. I write a lot of thank you notes, and I am just genuinely curious. And so, yes, I do have a lot of mentors, I would say. Yes.
Okay.
It's only because I keep up with everybody that kind of helped me out in life so far.
Yeah. All right. All right. Very cool. Well, I'm always big about mentors, right? If we don't have a mentor who can teach us where we want to go, someone who's been there, then we're doing this. And this is a whole foundation of why I've asked you to come on board here, so we can start helping some people who to help them, give them some of that business savvy that they need to get to understand. So, Kate, you want to start diving into questions? You ready, Ryan, to have some questions?
I would love it. Hopefully I can answer them, and hopefully I help.
Okay. Well, just at the moment, just so everybody knows before you do this, Kate, we have almost 500 people on board. If you would take a minute, then down below, there's a little thumbs up button. You can press that button and tell us that you like us bringing Ryan on board and CNC creators getting together. All right. Go ahead, Kate. Bring a question out. Looks like the first one's for Ryan.
All right. So this comes from Richard. Ryan, do you use Square Up for online sales? Any recommendations?
Okay. So I use many different payment options. Sound like an infomercial, but it just depends where. So I do use Square Up for walk-up customers. When I go to trade shows and stuff, I do use Square Up. And then I have, Shopify, Etsy, and then we're on Amazon as well. And so those all have different, I don't know what the payment terminals, I guess, but yes, I do use Square Up for basic transactions. There's a little Square chip reader. They're super cheap. That's all we use whenever we do, basic customer interactions.
Okay, very cool. All right, so let's pop into the next one here. This is from Jim. It says, on topic, my biggest problem with making things is I don't believe people would buy something I came up with, so I don't sell much unless someone asks for something.
That's an interesting statement.
I'm trying how to address that question.
Well, I would say the first thing is on this one is your belief. If you don't believe that you're going to be able to get those sales, you're putting out that energy that you're not going to get them, and you're not putting yourself in position to do that. All right. So turn the belief around and realize, if you look at your own life and your own perspective, you want to go out and get things. So does everybody else. And if you put yourself in a position of being positive about it, people will be more you'll be more desirable, but your belief is actually stopping you. Kate, do you have something to like to share on that one?
I mean, I definitely agree with that. You have to be in the right mindset, but also don't discount yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't discount the product before you even release the product and think that people aren't going to like it, because you're squashing your own dreams and you're not allowing yourself enough grace to give yourself the opportunity to put that out there. I mean, Ryan probably had no idea that this little stand would take off like it did or become what it has, but he came up with a great idea. He put it out there, and here we are talking with him. So, put yourself out there and allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable, because you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable in order to be successful. So give yourself a chance.
Yeah. IDC Woodcraft is a router bit company. It supplies you with the router bits. And every time I make a change on IDC Woodcraft or bring a product in, it's always from an inspired action. Just like what Ryan had with the docking station. It was an inspired thought. Trust that thought. I mean, Ryan, you can talk about that.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. So I'm in kind of a phase right now where we're designing multiple different products and seeing if it works. And the market's always going to speak for you. I mean, of the products I've designed, there's only been about 5 that have taken off and done good. Those 5 have done, millions and millions. But the other 100 that I've tried and failed with, the interesting thing about woodworking that I love is that you will, no matter what you build, you're going to screw up on it at some point, and you're going to learn and get a little bit better. And that's why I love even now. I mean, yesterday I was sitting beside my CNC for 6 hours trying to figure out how to do this one corner on this tray we're making. And I was watching very basic tray videos. Really, I mean, I get from IDC Woodcraft, actually watching like, okay, how do we do that tray? Okay, how is he doing that? Is there something I'm missing? And so I would say don't compare yourself to other products on that note. Amen. Because I'm not actually a highly skilled, I wouldn't consider myself a highly skilled master woodworker by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I come out with enough products and get that open to enough people where it has a chance, because somebody can be an awesome master woodworker and nobody knows about it, and then there's no way you can make a sale. So, I mean, I've put out, like I said, hundreds of products, and 5 of them took off, and that's really the only 5 I needed.
Yeah, and that's another good point. Part of being successful is accepting failure. But you can't have failure. Failure is only just one step closer to success. So even if that idea that you make it and it doesn't really sell, instead of looking at it as a failure, look at it as, what can I learn from this, and how can I grow from this?
Yep.
And it's not the end. It's not the end. Just keep failing. They say in business, fail forward and fail fast.
Yep. 100%. All right, let's pop in another question here. This comes from Brian. Appears to me sellers are a dime a dozen. Why would I think I could be competitive with a flood of designs and a reasonable price point for all that's out there?
It's a great question.
Yep. That is a fantastic question. And I would almost tend to agree with that there are a lot of products out there. There are a lot of similar products. And the reason me personally, I can speak on my behalf. The reason I have done it is because I looked at the flood. Always, you have a red ocean, right? So you have all these sharks. You have a whole bunch of sharks in the water, and they're all fighting over these bait fish. And there's this big, whole bunch of blood in the water, and it's a red ocean. I like to go for the blue ocean, where there isn't any sharks and there are a lot of fish. And so I like to stay over there. So if everybody is doing this same exact thing, for instance, on the docking stations way back when, everybody was laser engraving them, right? And it's like, well, I'm going to do mine with just a CNC. And that little bit of difference, or maybe I tweaked the design just a little bit, offered the 5 colors, that was enough to set me apart and to put me in that blue ocean. Like now, I'm selling cutting boards on Amazon. Now I have a big enough shop to get my price point down, but a lot of people would say that's a super saturated market. And we are starting to do that on Amazon with American made stuff. And we're doing a pretty dang good job with it. So it just depends on what you're selling. To prove that point, last year I started an Etsy shop with Frio right here. And I noticed there was a market for wooden coolers. And our first year on Etsy, we did over $400,000 in wooden coolers, just on Etsy. Wow. Which is a highly, there's a lot of sellers on there, but nobody was selling coolers. And so if you want to sell cutting boards on Etsy, it's difficult, but maybe you come out with I think one that would really sell good on Etsy is a deer head, like an outdoor deer head, or one that fits on the front of a Traeger on the barbecue pit. So it's like long, it's like a 12 by 30 inch cutting board that just fits on the front of barbecue pits. That's an untapped market, right? So when people search barbecue pit cutting board or cutting board for husband at barbecues, that would pop up. And so really just finding your niche, finding your blue ocean, and staying away from that red water is, because it's always kind of been the same. There's always a lot of people making a lot of stuff. And now that CNCs are becoming more readily available, you do have to put your thinking hat on and go, you know what makes me different enough that people would prefer me over this person, and do not do it off of price. It's got to be normal.
Yeah.
That's such a fantastic point. We don't want to blend in, right? You can take a normal product and do exactly what he said. This is the niche angle that I talk about a lot. You find that little angle, the sub market, that what you're doing is you're tapping into emotional things when you're doing like the deer head. You're going to tap right into the hunter's mentality, and so they're going to want to hit those over the plain cutting boards. That's going to draw their attention.
Yep.
Ryan, it's so refreshing to hear your perspective on that, because I have a similar story, because I came from a paint party business. I owned and currently still own Rise and Shine wood signs, and that was kind of my baby for a long time, but it was a paint party business. And I'm sure your current wife probably has some of those nice wooden signs in her home that are painted and they look really beautiful. But that's why I actually bought my CNC, was to up the ante on the painted signs, because I could still use the Aura mask. I just decided to carve them. And then I was taking those signs to my clients. They were gathering all their girlfriends, doing all of their things, but now it was carved. And so I could add even a second layer of dimension if they wanted the sign on top of it. But instead of me trying to like level everything and do everything, I could just basically outline the sign. They could paint the stuff that went on top of it and make like a 3-dimensional sign. So I love the fact that you say you really were trying to swim where there weren't a bunch of sharks, because was the exact mindset that I had when I went into my paint party business. I'm like, these wooden signs are so saturated, the market, how can I change my business to be a step above that? But now the funny thing is, I want everybody, next time you're with your wife or your girlfriend, or you are a woman and you wander into Hobby Lobby or Walmart, Rule King, things like that, you notice that some of the signs are now carved. That is becoming very widely popular. But back here 2 years ago, when I bought my CNC and started that, it was kind of like a little bit ahead of the curve. So I love that you were talking about looking for that blue ocean.
Yeah, and that shows that the market is always shifting. So we can't just assume to make things and then it's always going to be hunky dory. You've had copycats that were pushing at you, so you had to adjust. And so as a business owner, we just want to keep our eyes open a little bit more as to what's going on in the market, and you're finding the angle, but you're also paying attention.
And I'm going to add to all those points. One fun exercise to do is not to try to design all the products for every topic, every niche or whatever. It's just pick one that you're familiar with. So you like to barbecue, pick barbecuing and figure out how you can cater to that market. If you're into music and you have a guitar, right? Now you're doing guitar picks, you're doing guitar stands that you CNC cut and it holds the guitar a certain way. You mount it on the wall. There's certain ways, and you find that angle. And so whenever I'm designing new products now, I'm picking one niche that I want to target, and I'm just hyper focusing on that and seeing where the cracks are and where the blue oceans are in that specific niche, micro niching. And then as it develops, then you can kind of take it over, because you get to be a bigger shark and you eat more fish, and then now you're the big shark swimming in there. So that helps.
Ryan is either a reader or he listens to audiobooks, because the Blue Ocean, Red Ocean, that's a book. That's a well-written book. Opens your eyes to a lot of things. I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Ryan, I have a question for you. So when you said, I just kind of want to circle back to when you said that like you were having all these copycat issues, because I know a lot of people probably do sell on Etsy or on some type of platform. How did you still maintain your success in the growth of your business while having these copycats? Like I know you said you were doing your engraving, but what do you feel like really made you climb versus just like staying stagnant?
So I was on the mains. Let me think of how to answer this. So there's multiple different angles I can go. One, you do have to have a little bit of luck. But the amount of work we had to do to make enough products was like, you can't fathom it. I mean, our house was tore apart. It was nuts. If you're the first mover on the market and you keep slowly innovating, what happens online is you're going to have a plethora of copycats try to come in there. But two, you start having your audience and your client base grows. And so you have reviews. And so by the time these other Etsy shops that were trying to copy me would come on, I already had 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 reviews. And so mine was kind of the premium option there. And then you have Chinese products try to come in and undercut me. And then this is still a bad thing on Etsy. It was back then, it's less now. They would come on and do a pop-up shop for 30 days at a third of my price. And then they would close shop and leave, and then just keep popping that up. And then they would file a lawsuit against me for copyright infringement, even though there was nothing there. Etsy would close my shop down, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing with the docking stations. And I'm just giving you some background context of all the fraud that I've had. Then after the docking stations, I came out with these wooden piggy banks. That's all CNC based. And our first year launching wooden piggy banks on Etsy, we did over $1 million in sales with them. And we had so much fraud. There was at one point we counted 55 different websites with our photos, which were copyrighted, that had our photos, my family, USA made, all that stuff. And the customers, and then they had our numbers. So the customers would call us when they didn't get their order. And they would say, this is a cheap piece of crap bank, blah, 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 blah. They'd leave a bad Google review. I mean, they'd reach out to our Etsy shop and just condemn us. And to give long story short, there's no way to fight that because they were based in China and all that stuff. So that's like just awful. So that was a thing. Even on Amazon, I was on Walmart.com. I wasn't actually on Walmart. I was on Amazon with like 20 different listings. Was not on Amazon. And the reason I actually got on Amazon is because I can copyright those pictures now, and Amazon will not allow that same photo to be duplicated.
Yeah.
And so that's the real reason I actually got on Amazon in the first place, was to combat that. But they did over $20 million in sales with my photos.
Wow.
So hindsight, they did draw a lot of traffic to the actual shop once these customers got bad stuff. And I said, hey, we're the real people. And then it'd be like, oh no, you're Chinese. It's like, look, like you can look me up. I'm right here. And so that was a lot. In a nutshell, what I've learned through all that over all these years of doing it is that you have to just kind of constantly innovate, come out with the next. It doesn't have to be the next big thing. You only really need one or two. And then now that where I'm at, I at least have enough equipment and a big enough shop now where I can compete because I am that bigger shark. Where before I had to mark out my niche, and now it's like I can compete on basic cutting boards now because I have such a big shop and all that stuff. So I got big enough to be able to compete on that level. But when I was smaller, I had to just find my way through, and then they're stealing it. It's just going to be a given. And just know, when I'm designing products, I know that I have a 3-year life cycle, 3 years. You have 1 year where you can do really good. China's going to pick it up at about 18 months. If you're online and in social media and stuff like that, they're going to pick it up at 18 months. They're going to ship it over 6 months later. They're going to validate it for 6 months. And they're going to run ads at month 30. And then you have I say it's not dead, but it will flatline. So it'll go up. Let me see if I can do it on the graph.
Yeah, that's normal business curve. Even me, IDC Woodcraft, I'm building a brand. And so as that brand builds, there's going to be that. And I'm going to have to develop a staff to combat that. The bigger you get, the harder it gets. But being a little, just starting out, you're not going to run into that right away. So don't sweat that.
Yeah. Don't sweat that. Just know that that's the evolution, but deal with that when you can deal with it. Don't be scared that my product's going to get copied. Well, there's somebody's going to invent it. I always tell people wood's been around for thousands of years. So like you thinking you have an original idea that's never been done is very unfathomable. You're always just kind of remarketing an idea that's already been out there that just really hasn't been marketed well. So that's why I like woodworking.
Right. All right, Kate, let's go on to the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's do it here. Let's see here. So we have Absolute Best Custom Wood Products Padilla. Question, the majority of your business comes from Etsy. Is there one item that stood out more than others that led to your success?
Yeah, and that would be that docking station. That would be the docking station. And then once the docking station started falling off, I designed the piggy banks, and those took off. And then we introduced cutting boards and charcuterie boards and stuff like that. But it was definitely just that one product that really took off. And I do want to context that too. A lot of people say like, you may be listening to this like, well, I don't have that product. I'm never going to get it, et cetera. You don't know when it's going to come. There is a little bit of luck that plays into it, but there was also, I wasn't the only one that came out with it, right? There was a whole bunch of other players. I innovated a little bit, they didn't, and I innovated more, and then more came in. And so it wasn't like, you know, I was just lucky and didn't have to do anything else. And so that's what I always just say, niche down. And because if I did that docking station and then had 30 other products, the other people that only were doing one docking station would have beat me because I wouldn't have innovated that because I had 30 other products to worry about. But since I was all I lived, breathed, and dreamed was that docking station and how to make it better for my customers, that's how I beat them, because I only focused on one product. And I just had a good enough, at the beginning, I had a little bit of product validation because maybe my confidence was low, just like the very first question, my confidence was a little bit low. I had instant gratification, which was lovely. And then I focused on it. But now I don't have to have that instant gratification because I know just by focusing on it and just slowly innovating, I can beat others.
Very good. Very good.
All right. Before we move on, Kate, pop that back off. Just our little intermission for those of you who have jumped in late. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and next to me is Kate Tucker with Women Who CNC, and then we have Ryan Drapela from Cutting It Close. First of all, make sure for those of you who are not subscribed to Ryan's channel, subscribe. He's got a lot of guidance. He's very driven to create good content for you. And of course, subscribe to IDC Woodcraft and also Women Who CNC. Kate, why don't you share about Women Who CNC in your Facebook group?
Sure. So Women Who CNC was basically born because there are, I would say Women Who CNC is a little bit of a niche area. There were a lot of women that just needed support, guidance, and basically a safe place to ask questions without, what do you want to say? For lack of better words, being mansplained in a lot of groups. Most of, I will say this, about 90% of the men in those groups are absolutely fabulous human beings. They are helpful and they do not care that you are a woman. But there are a select group that tend to be a little difficult. So that's kind of why Women Who CNC was born. I actually ran into that myself. And so we have a Facebook group. It is for women only. It's just a safe space to learn and grow. And also we do have a YouTube channel, Women Who CNC. And so there's going to be a lot of really interesting content coming out this year with a lot of different women within the group that have tremendous talent and skill, and they're going to be sharing that with some interviews coming up. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss all that. But
very cool. Very cool. In the description of this video, whether you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube, there are links down below. And just below the description, that's there. One of them is for Ryan's. He has built a site if you want to get on board with some information that he will eventually provide. That link is down below, just below the CNC Insiders list link. And what CNC Insiders is for those who are on that list, they get when I release new products, and I'm working on 2 new products that are they generally get a discount on those products. So it's a big win. We just released the Badger a few weeks ago, and Liberty and Julianne were just swamped the entire week. Everybody had to get in there and help to get all those orders out because so many, and they wiped us out. You cleaned us out. Anyway, so down in the description, there's that, and there's some other information how to get a hold of me, Kate, Ryan. We will put his email in there as well. So anyway, there we go. And don't forget to hit the like button.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely. Help us out. Help share this word. Yeah. This incredible information that Ryan is providing to us.
And join in on Wednesdays. Kate and I do this every Wednesday, and we're always working to bring some special people on. We had Ray Kinman on a few weeks ago, who is a master hand carver, right? Hand carver and painter finisher. 46
Disney.
years.
He's a Disney artist.
He's a Disney artist, but he carves wood, and so we want to bring high quality people on like Ryan, and so we're constantly working on doing that. So every Wednesday, 8 p.m. this time. All right, Kate, let's hit the next one. Let's pick Ryan's head some more.
All right, here we go. This one comes from Neil, At what point should you seriously consider getting a business license and or tax ID?
So that would depend on your circumstance. I mean, you're going to be under a sole proprietor when you're first starting off. It depends how much you hate taxes at the end of the day, and how much liability you want to have. So for me, I was a sole proprietor until I did over $50,000 in sales. And then once I did over $50,000 in sales, I turned into an LLC because I was still in college. I had enough expenses where I wasn't paying any taxes on that $50,000. But hindsight, and I didn't want to pay, it was like $1,000 a year to file when you're an LLC. That's what I've heard at the time. So I didn't get it until I was doing over $50,000 a year in sales that second year on Etsy. And that's when I formed my LLC. So to answer your question, if you're doing it's not legal advice, all that good stuff, but if you're doing under $10,000 in sales and you're not making kids toys where you have to shield yourself from some kind of liability, then I wouldn't worry about, doing LLC, doing all that paperwork yet. You can either do a DBA and the county's going to find you and start taxing you if you do a DBA. But you do a DBA, just go to the county annex, say you're going to start a business, whatever name you want, and then you're good there, and it'll be under your social security number, and your life's a lot easier. But if you do want some kind of legal shield, that's when the LLC comes in there, because it separates the business from the individual. So that's
and you made a good point there. Kids' toys are something you need to do some research on before you start making things for kids, because if they choke on it, it breaks and it gets splinters, you can certainly get sued for it. Yep. So, Kate, we got a donation here.
Well, thank you, Ellen. That is so generous of you. This is Ellen. She is a Woman Who CNCs, and she is one of our regulars. She's been with us. She's a very, very good friend and a very good teacher as well. So she says, this is a great live tonight. While listening tonight, I came up with my next idea. Yes. I will keep you posted. Thanks, Ryan. You said something that made my spotlight go on.
Yeah. Awesome. Ellen's doing some rock and rolling herself. So yes, yeah. The way Ellen has just donated $20 is just below on the IDC Woodcraft YouTube channel. There's a little button where you can say thank you, and that's how some people tell us thank you for putting on the show and providing this kind of stuff. Thanks, Ellen.
All right, so let's go on, jump on to Mr. Jeff Turner. Can you please talk about the 3 key social media areas which you would recommend to focus on to help create work opportunities and to grow supplemental income for your business? Okay.
So, fun fact for me on social media, I am by far not a guru. It's funny because I now have a YouTube channel, and it's kind of, but I never really. Where I'm from, I'm in the middle of the country, and so Facebook and Facebook Marketplace, all that stuff was never really that good for me with the products that I made. So what I see most social media is nowadays, unless there is areas that's a great Facebook Marketplace, a fantastic one. I mean, and you can reach that, and maybe I don't focus on it too much now because I have different platforms to sell on. But I do know of multiple businesses now that were grown in the last 2 years off of a good Facebook Marketplace that they focused on. My advice for social media is it's very hard to be good at all the channels. So pick one, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, just pick one. Now that doesn't mean don't have the others, but just if you're posting something on Facebook, it's really easy to post it on Instagram. Just do it, but don't give that one a ton of love. Don't worry about trying to make the Instagram gods happy. Just worry about Facebook. What I have learned, Facebook most social media works more as social proof than actually to get the person to order from you. In my experience, so people, they get a product of mine, I brand all my products. They look us up. They say, hey, he has a Facebook page. It looks legit. He's not a Chinese manufacturer. And they buy from me. It validates their concerns that they're going to get a cheap knockoff wood product. And so just having a social media channel that they can find is the utmost important thing. You don't have to stress over anything else. And then just post on there regularly. You don't have to post 5 times a week or anything like that. Just post 1, maybe 2 times a week. And if you can do a video, that's even better, because video works the best. It don't have to be professional, just shoot something. And trend that I have seen is that more professional videos have become, it's kind of doing a back trend where most social media and most audiences actually like more rough, rugged videos where you're holding your phone and talking, because there's so much professional stuff out there. Then it feels real and raw, because there's so much AI and stuff like that. So if you're walking around your shop, like, hey, check out this table, it's awesome, blah, 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 blah. They love that way more than you trying to film this awesome, amazing video.
Yeah. I will say I have seen more creators generate business. There's a myriad of different ways. One is just get out there and start showing people. Let people know that you're making stuff. Number 2 is knowing what different social platforms are good for. And like if you're making stuff and you're posting on YouTube, just showing making stuff, that's not going to do it. You need to know who you're targeting, and you need to orient that video around their interest. I'm with Ryan. Facebook, post on Facebook, even on your personal Facebook page, and get your wife or husband to post on it and show what you're doing, and do those little videos. A lot of people like to post their stuff in the CNC community Facebook groups. That's where we're just showing off what we're doing or asking for help. And that's cool, but that's not where the sales are going to come from. The sales are going to come from your more general audiences, people who are looking to you give them ideas. When you just put it out there, they start getting ideas. Oh, he can make that. Kate, you've had experience in these areas.
Yeah, I've had a ton of that, actually. That's kind of how Garrett and I met. I did. I was kind of tired of the paint party business, and so as much as I loved it, I kind of found myself in this, oh, well, now I have this big machine that can cut everything and do all of these unique items. And then I started making a lot of custom things, which is great. But when you're new and you're in the business, you struggle kind of fumbling through Vectric, and then your CNC is not doing what you're supposed to be doing because you don't understand the software, because the software tells the CNC what to do. So if your software isn't good, then your CNC projects are not going to be good. So I struggled with that for a long time, just kind of fumbling through one project to another. But I did give myself a grace period. I said 6 months to a year to really nail down the CNC, work with it every day, whether it was 20 or 30 minutes. I made that commitment to myself for that first year to really dig in. But then I met Garrett along the way, and we started this mentorship program, and I've kind of found myself in a different dynamic of teaching the Vectric software. So well, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, that's well, as it goes on YouTube, the 3 of us are educationally based. All right. But at the end of the day, it's really, you got to just put things out there. Use your Facebook, social media, and there are 3 kinds of audiences, right? In the marketplace, there's a cold audience, there's a warm audience, there's a hot audience. The hot ones are the ones that are most likely to buy from you. And who's hot? The people that like you, your friends, right? Family and friends. So you just start there, getting the stuff out there, and they will notice you. And often that leads to something else. Most CNC creators generate their business either through friends. They start off their businesses from friends.
Yep. We've always said the best referral you can give me is of a friend or a family. So even my customers, I tell that to all the time, and they're like, yeah, absolutely. I would love to share this with your
here's one more tip. Once they do that, once you get somebody to buy, ask them to refer you. Tell them what you're trying to do and ask them. Don't be afraid. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So looks like we've got some questions piling up here. Ryan, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
We are coming close to cutoff time for questions now. 5 more minutes to get the questions in.
All right. So we've got Jeff Turner here. He says, how do you source your wood?
So when I was first starting out, I just went to a hardwood distributor in Houston. There's one called Houston Hardwoods, and I would buy it. You go there, right? You have all these boards on each thing. You buy them per board foot, and I, just buy it like I guess anybody else sources wood. I'm in a big city, so or I'd go to the local sawmill, right, and get some cedar, some oak, etc. So just like I would say anybody else would, just find the nearest hardwood dealer, go by and check the nearest 4, buy from the cheapest one, make sure the wood quality is good. I skimmed Craigslist at the time a lot to try to find some garage deals or some people moving out. They need to get rid of this wood, etc. Now, I go straight to the sawmill. So I get it by an 18-wheeler load now. And so I get wood where the people that sell the wood. So in wood, there's the sawmill and they sell to a distributor. Sometimes that distributor sells to another distributor, then sells to that shop that you're buying the wood from. And if it's a professional shop, and then you buy it. So there's like multiple markups in there. And so the closer you can get to the sawmill, the better. And so now I'm going straight to the sawmill, and coming out on our website, eventually we're going to have a way for y'all to kind of cut out some of those middle guys. So that's what we're kind of building on the website. That's why it's not up yet. It's kind of complicated, but we have a way that y'all can access that. So
there's finding another angle, a need, lower cost, good quality wood.
Yep. So that's how I source it now. But back then, yeah, it was just finding wood the cheapest way, any way possible.
I hear you. I think it's something we all struggle with, finding good quality wood.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. We have Dwight up next. Do you advertise on Etsy? If so, what do you spend on advertising?
Yep. So I do advertise on my Etsy shop. It is only to make Etsy happy. And there's no, I max it out at like $1,000 a day, and it never hits it anyways. It may spend $100 a day. But if you do not advertise, there's no data out there, but I believe Etsy kind of blacklists you a little bit. And so I always have ads running, and I make sure that the ads are, 3-to-1 ratio. So if I'm spending $1, at least getting 3 in return. I cut off any ads that are less than that. But yeah, I advertise on Etsy because, once again, I think the Etsy gods are out there, and they don't like you if you don't spend a little extra money with Etsy. So I always keep it on, and
that's such a good point. You want to make sure when you start to run ads, you're watching the algorithms or the analytics that they're returning to you, so you know that you're getting a positive return.
Correct. Yeah, I'm making sure I'm not losing money doing ads ever. But yeah.
Okay.
We got a couple more contributions here, Kate.
Oh, we've got Michael Clifton, $10. Y'all great down to earth people. Well, thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Mike. And then there's Billy.
Hey, Billy, donated $20. Thank you, sir. That's so generous of you. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah, this is the way. Yeah. Go ahead, Kate. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say we have a generous bunch of people here, Ryan, and they're all good, solid people here.
Oh, so. I'm loving the audience. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm reading. I have the live chat going. I'm reading it. I'm not very good at multitasking, so commenting back is kind of hard. Hey, but I'm reading.
You're all right. I know it's a lot. It can be a lot to take in when you're trying to juggle all the questions and all the good stuff. So yeah, absolutely. All right. So this one is for you, sir. This is Batcoon Snips. I hope I said that right.
Yeah. I don't know which one of my guys that is. So we will.
You have a secret admirer.
Yeah. I got to give him a shout out tomorrow's meeting. So.
Oh, very nice. Well, it says Ryan is the best boss. Shout out to. Is it Drapela?
Yeah, Drapela. Yeah. So yeah, that's the
Drapela Workers.
Works. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. That's incredible. I love that's your guys are giving you a huge shout out right there. Being a good boss.
How come my girls never do that?
Oh, hush. They show up every Wednesday and stay with you until 10 o'clock.
They show up every day and they work their asses off. I'll tell you what, that's how they do it. And they seem to really enjoy it. So.
They do. All right. So let's keep trucking along here. So this is from Max. It says, do you have other CNC operators to help you keep up with the demand of your product? And if so, what do you look for in a CNC operator?
Yeah, great question. I do. So I have one head CNC operator, which is Anthony. He was my very first employee. He was the guy that sanded in the horse barn all day long. He can run any of the CNCs. He can run the IQ, the Swift, the Shop Saver, or the Onstrud. And so he's there. And then I have a couple different guys that can pretty much just click go and do product change outs. And bit change outs, but do not have I wouldn't say the depth of knowledge that Anthony has. And then I can also operate all the machinery and stuff like that. What I look for, and I also have his brother, give a shout out to Frank. Hopefully he watches this video. His brother operates all our lasers. So we have 3 laser engravers. And so I like the qualities of Anthony, and Frank had those same qualities. And so Frank runs all lasers. And so what I look for in somebody like that is somebody that doesn't get bored and pays attention to the details. If you have somebody that's really high strung, they're going to try to go too quick, not set the Z height. You're going to mill right into your table. They're going to, I mean, that's usually the number one issue right there. They're going to put the wrong bit in there. And with our shop, we have resharpened bits. So we have 0.48s, 0.50s, 0.46s, and those are very tricky. And so somebody that's meticulous and pays attention to the details, because Anthony is operating a $300,000 CNC. I mean, if a part breaks on there, that's a lot of money now. And so I trust him to be meticulous and never not get in too much of a rush. I have a tendency to get into a rush and not want to do the Z height. So I have some kind of procedure I have to go through every time to calm myself down before I click go in like 10 different checks. But so somebody meticulous that can do something day in and day out, not get too bored with it, and pays attention to the details.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to say, I watched your video on your YouTube channel. I think it was about maybe your like biography or how your business came about. And I just have to say, I loved that video. If you guys haven't seen that, I would encourage you to go check it out. It's kind of just how your whole business came about. I love when you say that, like, you were talking about that horse stall that you put the concrete over and then put the CNC room in there. Like, I can still see from watching that video of, it was just like a little like long skinny room that you were talking about, you know, how to do this. And then, you know, Anthony was standing there sanding, and that's just, it says so much about you as an owner, as an entrepreneur, just as a business person in general, that your employees have stuck with you for your entire journey and that they are faithful to you. That really says a lot about you as a person.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have them. Just first and foremost, I'm lucky to have them. I'm lucky to have them stick around. Hopefully, whatever I'm doing right, hopefully I keep doing it. So,
I gotta concur. Right, you want to find the right people with the right attitude, with the right job, the right skills for the right job, and I'm very blessed with that as well. Hey, we got another one, Kate, from the good old Mr. Mark Lindsay.
Oh, hey, thanks, Mark. That's incredible. Mr. Mark Lindsay is a very, very well-known vectoric teacher here in the CNC community. So if you all have not gone and checked out Mark, please do so. He is a fantastic human being.
Yeah. And the way he contributed and the way the other creators here have so generously given of themselves on the IDC Woodcraft YouTube channel, there's a little button down below, super sticker kind of thing, where you can contribute. And that's just their way of saying thank you for doing what we're doing. And so thank you, Mark. And quickly, we just got another one.
Oh,
Jim.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Jim. That's very generous of you.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. You're awesome. Okay, well, anyway, first of all, we have Ryan Drapela, who's been chatting with us all, for anybody who showed up later. Right, he's from the YouTube channel Cutting It Close, and I would highly recommend that you go onto his YouTube channel and subscribe there. Ryan offers a lot of really down-home guidance out of his experience of what he's gone through and gives lots of product recommendations, and he gives good reasons behind it, why he's suggesting these various different products. So it's not just, hey, this makes money like many content creators do. He's telling you the philosophy behind it, the type of people that are buying it, and why they're buying it. And so those are the ones I really appreciate when you're really out there trying to help. Kate Tucker with Women Who CNC YouTube channel, pop on there. And of course, we're on IDC Woodcraft, where Kate is teaching CNC. She's teaching, you're teaching the epoxy. You're working on epoxy. Me, I'm teaching the CNC for beginner, and I'm providing the CNC router bits too, what have you. So idcwoodcraft.com. If you haven't bought our router bits from me, then give me a shot. We got some awesome girls who will make sure you get treated very, very well.
Yeah, we've got some. We've kind of got a little bit of a coverall here tonight.
Yeah. Down below in the description, there's a bunch of links. There's links to the CNC Insiders, which is the email list that I have. So whenever I come out with a new product, they get notified, they get discounts, right? I don't give these discounts to the public. So you might want to get on the CNC Insiders list. Also, there's a link for Ryan down below. Kate, we need to get yours. I think you've got to sign up somewhere, but I think you.
Yeah, it's over on the womenwhocnc.com. So you can go on over there and check it out. You can even join the CNC network. To be able to find, it's kind of an interactive map of other CNCers that are around the planet. So yeah, you can go check that out over on the womenwhocnc.com.
Yeah, like she has a map. She has a map, and you can like put here, I'm here, and you can see if there's another CNC creator near you. Then you can connect with each other.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Jen. Hey, girl. She
John.
just donated $15. Thank you. It says, thanks for the inspiration, Ryan. I love being a part of the amazing CNC community and Women Who CNC. She is in Canada. Jen is a very, very gifted CNCer. She's actually one that I will be reaching out to. She makes some of the most incredible cribbage boards. She is madly talented at the cribbage boards, and she's been incorporating epoxy, and oh my gosh, she just has some of the coolest stuff. So
awesome.
She's one you'll be hearing from later. This is from Brian Neighbor, $20. Thank you. Another great show. Well, I'm glad you guys are all enjoying this.
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah. We couldn't do it without you guys being here. All right, let's handle another question. So we've got a long list of questions here. 20 questions are sitting in the queue.
All right.
And all Ryan, right. that's just that cutoff. There's still more questions sitting on there.
I'll see if I can. I want to try to get to as many as possible. So
all right. Well, let's do it here. All right, this is from Ronald. If you had to start over knowing what you know now, how would you choose or find woodworking products that a beginner could create?
So how would you choose or find woodworking products that a beginner could create?
Hey, Ryan, can you come a little closer to
Yeah. No, I was sorry. I had to sit back in my chair for that one.
Yeah.
I actually think about this question a lot, all of the time. I still have the same mindset that I had when I initially designed all my other ones. Is what is my unique angle? How can I beat somebody else? What is my competitive advantage in the marketplace? How can I beat somebody? So now I would say I have multiple disadvantages that I have now that I did not have when I was a beginner, but I also have multiple advantages that I have now that I didn't have when I was a beginner, right? So if I make a product that has a lot of material in it, I can beat most people because I get material a lot cheaper, right? Just in general. If it's super material heavy and I'm competing on price, I can typically beat people. That's that end. But there's so many other levers that I don't have anymore that I have to make sure I don't design products around. So if I was a beginner now, I would look and I would study bigger people. And that's what I did. I studied bigger shops and I looked at them and said, you know what, what's there? And this is me, I was always thinking 5 years in ahead, and I wish I could hone that back down a little bit. And like Garrett said, is just get products out there, as much as possible. Nobody knows, and nobody's going to steal it. If you post one time on Facebook, right? It's not going to be a big deal. None of that stuff. But what I always looked at is, okay, these bigger shops, that, and I say this in a lot of my videos, a little CNC can engrave just as fast as a big CNC. So if you have a $2,000 CNC, it's going to engrave just as fast as my $300,000 CNC. So do you think I do a lot of engravings on my giant CNC? Absolutely not. My change outs on my big CNCs take a long time because, like I say, change outs, I'm changing tooling and stuff like that because I'm making sure I don't break anything. To cut out a simple square on my $300,000 CNC is going to take me a little over an hour to program that square. Cut out one square. If I had to program 1,000 squares and cut them all out, or if I have to cut out 1,000 squares, I'm going to beat you. But if I had to cut out one, it's going to take me an hour, where you can go cut out a square on your a smaller benchtop CNC, in 30 minutes time or 15 minutes, right? And so if I was a beginner, and I still have that mentality, I think it's called a Shoshin mentality. That's a Japanese thing, Shoshin. I would look at the next level up of whoever my competition is and just try to find where I can beat them at, adding different stripes in wood, right? Like adding different stripes when you glue up a panel is kind of a big deal, because for me, I have all these saws set at a certain width, and it's just really hard, believe it or not, just to add a stripe into a panel. Like, it's not an easy thing when you have a bigger shop. And so that's what I would suggest is, what is your competitive advantage? Maybe you're in your garage and you only have a CNC. Well, you have very low overhead. And so you can run maybe a 3D carving, or maybe do a lot of VBIT, or do different prayers in just a piece of wood and sell those, right? I mean, there's so many different, or one thing I always think would be good as a beginner, because bigger companies don't want to mess with this, is sell like yard art, right? Do the pumpkins, do during Halloween, and then you have people on your mailing list and they always buy stuff from you because you have every holiday. You have St. Patrick's Day, you have Easter, where you cut out different Easter egg shapes out of plywood that you go buy from Home Depot, and you paint them white, and then you send them a little kit, and they can paint them themselves, they get their kids to do it, etc. And then you have every holiday. You have Father's Day coming up, you do one for their dad and the kids paint it. And so, like, there's so many ways to get in that zone, and find your competitive advantage. So if I was a beginner, I would see what I have, and how can I beat other people with my unique ability, right? With my unique circumstances that I am in. Because being in garage is not a bad thing. I mean, if you're in your yard and have to roll stuff out there and work, that is still not a bad thing. There is a advantage to that, whether you believe it or not. And there's a ton of disadvantages. I have 23 employees, big shop, a lot of overhead, and there's no time for me to only cut out a product that I'm only going to sell 20 of. I can't do it. It's just,
right.
So there is advantages and disadvantages on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Even though he's talking about competitors, and you're looking for the angle, because competitors, the bigger shops, they don't have the bandwidth to narrow down too tight, right? Because they're now to levels where they have to have production, they have to have stuff. So you still have the advantage as a single machine owner to add a lot of custom element to your stuff.
Right.
So keep in mind on that. But again, it goes back to find the angles and go what Ryan said before. Go with what you know, because if you're an avid fisherman and you're chumming around with all your fishing buddies, and you make something related to fishing, you can best believe some people are going to have an affinity for.
My last video I posted on Sunday, fishing pole holders, was actually one of my products that can make you 10K in 2024. Funny enough, it was fishing pole holders, because I'm with Frio right here, and we go to a lot of different fishing events, and there is such a need for fishing pole holders along lakes and rivers in the Gulf, and nobody's really making them, and that's a really nice CNC cut product. So,
Yep.
Hey, Ryan, I got a question. Are you going to be at the IWF this year?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to see you down there.
Yeah.
IWF is the International International Woodworkers Fair, and it's a huge show. It's in Atlanta. What is that? August.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
I just told Julianne today. I said, I'm taking you. Liberty doesn't know what I'm sending her to yet.
Oh boy. All right, well, let's take another question here. This is from Ellen. It says, Ryan, who won the challenge with the bench you and your dad made?
Dad won. Dad beat me. He won. And we're filming the next challenge. And I had to wear the chicken hat, because I lost in Harbor Freight while I was buying stuff and in Home Depot. This giant chicken hat. I was very embarrassed. So
Awesome.
yeah, it was not good. So
I'm looking forward to seeing some content on that.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, we have a couple more gifts out here.
All right, so we've got Jim Pitts. Thank you, Jim. Ryan, you make old men proud that great young men are building a future. Did you marry the girl that got you the loan?
No, I did not, but we're still very good friends, and I hang out with her parents often and my wife is very involved with their family, because when I told her when I started dating her, it was like, you don't understand this family. I keep going back to CNC loan. Like, they have helped me out more than you could imagine. So still very good friends with them.
Got it. That's fun. I love that.
Thank you, Jim. And then we have another one, Kate.
All right, Jeff Turner, thank you for the $10. Thank you, Ryan, for stopping in. Fantastic live show. Looking forward to seeing you here again.
Yeah, we'll definitely have him here again. You can tell he's fired up about this. He's enjoying it. And
yeah,
when you have a teacher's heart, you want to be in these things.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wait.
All right, let's try and knock some of these out. I'm sorry, Garrett.
Yeah, I'm gonna bump that one back out.
All right, so this is from Ronald, $10. Thank you. That was very helpful. So Ronald is.
You're very welcome, Ronald.
Yes. Good. Thank you all for your
and
generosity.
I mean, it's nice, even if for those that don't contribute or donate, right? It's okay, but it's nice. When it's a kind of a side note, right? I have a mentor, and I pay my mentor a lot of money, right? And I pay my mentor a lot of money because I gain that new level, that new mindset, that new skill. And that's what we're wanting to deliver here. Why we brought Ryan on board, is to help deliver that skill that maybe Kate and I aren't as strong on. He's got the full blown production going on. I neither one of us can relate to that, but he's been down some roads. So thank you everyone for contributing. All right, Ryan, go ahead. Or Kate, bring the next question up.
All right, let's see. We've got Spunky Bear. Question: what sort of warranty do you have on your products? Just getting started and want to have an idea of how you would handle that. Thanks.
So I have no set warranty, but I typically lean towards if a customer has an issue, I either fix it or refund them their money. And that has worked well for me throughout. Now there's very few occasions where, somebody blatantly just abused their thing. But from my experience, most people are not out to get you. They're not going to try to in wood stuff, right? I mean,
yeah,
you're building a nice wood product. You build a good product, you stand behind it, you take pride in it, you ship them good. And then when the customer calls you and they have an issue, I was never a believer of like, hey, you bought it, it's hands off, it's been a year or whatever. I either bring it back, I may sand it down for them again. Typically they want it. I mean, we've done over 200,000 different product sales, and I've only had like 2 probably get shipped back ever. Not returns, but actually get shipped back because the customer is not satisfied. And so I'm always customer first on that. And so I tell everybody, if you ever have a problem with it, you give us a call, we're going to make it right because we stand by our product. Yeah. And so that goes a long ways with the customers. Now you do have to be careful when you're customizing stuff and they give you the wrong name on that. Yes. That does happen. So you have to have a check in place. And even then, most people are pretty understanding. I mean, we will send them a picture and say, hey, ma'am, sir, ma'am, here's a picture. This is what you told us, in the, in our guidelines, it says that we copy and paste and do not screw up. We copy and paste exactly what you put. It's your fault, right? But we say it with such grace. A lot of times they say, you know what, that was my bad. Thank you for showing me. I'll pay for it. That happens about 95% of the time. The other small percentage, sometimes we do redo it just because they feel so bad, they're having a bad day, and we redo it. And, once again, I'm not selling $500 items. I'm selling $50 items. And so it's not the end of the world to replace that one, but that's probably one out of every 1,000. I mean, it does not happen often, but just make sure you have some kind of confirmation with that person. If you are personalizing that, like, hey, this is what you want. This is the standard. One book recommendation that I read every single year, I make all my top guys read it. All my whole shop has read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That book has helped me deal with customer service so much that there's been multiple times that I've turned a 1-star review into a 5-star review. And I pride myself on being able to switch customers around. If you have an angry customer, you say, you know what? And if I was in your shoes, I'd be even more angry. Thank you for being so patient with me. You expect excellence, and I try to provide excellence. That's not what you've got. Thank you for being so patient. I'll be even more angry than you. How can I help? Right. And that right there sets them up in the mindset. And they're like, you know what? I'm being ridiculous. Ryan, you're good. 5-star review, great customer service. Like, that's typically what happens. So,
Ryan, you nailed 2 things. Number one is as business owners, right? We read. Reading is important because, especially books like what he just said. I've read that book twice, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an old book, but it still stands the test of time. The other one is backing up your business, being there for the customer. IDC Woodcraft guarantees its bits for 90 days. If you break it, we replace it. We don't ask questions, right? We just want you to send it back so we know it's our bit, right? There's no other router bit company that does that, as far as I know. But Kate, you've experienced that customer kind of thing. You've got one story that's kind of irate customer that just was not.
That was that was a minute ago. I actually kind of forgot about her. I should have, I guess people like that, I just try to block out because I'm moving forward. She was just one of those individuals that I did a really nice, beautiful specialty wood recipe, worked with her, emailed her back and forth, sent her multiple proofs, sent her pictures of the grain of the wood. It was laser engraved because it was such a specialty. I mean, it was like a very lengthy recipe, if you will. And, I picked a font that she liked. We went through, it was like a month and a half of just every single detail that she wanted. This little line moved to this here. Every little thing about this project was minuscule. Every little minuscule detail she was calling me on. And then she wanted it rush shipped. And then, so I rush shipped it, and I took that up, I took the hit on that, which was, I think, about like $45, not the greatest business choice, but I did what she asked because, I don't know, I guess I just was trying to be a good entrepreneur, good business person at the time, because what goes around comes around. Paid for it. And then I got a really horrible email basically saying that I did not mail it. Basically accusing me of lying and stealing her money, and that I wasn't, doing this and that, and that she was going to leave me horrible reviews. And it turns out it was around Christmas time. And because it was raining and snowing where she was, her daughter had actually come in and picked up the products and taken them to her house and basically shoved them in a closet because, it's Amazon stuff comes, what's coming, what's in the box. You don't want your family members to see it, so you just shove it in the closet. Well, after 3 or 4, 5 different emails of, I'm so sorry, I don't know what to do. I sent it. I have the tracking. I've, talked with FedEx or UPS or whoever I'd sent it through. It's been confirmed. I did conference calls with her. She was still just belittling and horrible to me. And so about 2 weeks later, she emailed me and said, hey, my daughter had it. you know, and then on top of it, if that wasn't good enough that her daughter had just taken it, she opened it up and she said, "This looks absolutely hideous. I think I'm just going to throw it on the burn pile, or I'll leave it on my front porch in the snow and you can come and get it."
Yep. You get those.
Yeah. Okay. All righty then. Well, I had sent her countless pictures of, here's the finished product.
Yeah.
Here's the design. This is the wood. Here it is together.
Beautiful, the lesson on this is there are just some people out there, and you got to move on.
Yep. It's a lengthy story. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's just some people you just can't please, and I don't know. Ryan, have you ever had anything like this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But at the end of the day, I just refund them all their money. I said, you know what?
That's what I did.
I'm not even. But I mean, a lot of if they're that unhappy, there's nothing you can do in the world to make them happy. I refund them all their money and call it a day, call it L, and move on, because what's good is like you were saying, Kate, you make a good quality product, you stand behind it, you take pride in it, so you can still sleep at night, and you know that lady's crazy. Like, there you go. Like, that's that, and that's what I do. Whatever makes me sleep at night as well. So I know I make a good quality product. If somebody's not happy with it, just fine. Here you go. So that's how.
Yeah, lesson learned, and sometimes you have to just take it on the chin and and move on. That's why I said I almost forgot like what he was talking about for a minute, because I'm like, I just.
Oh yeah. You put those real deep. You throw those away. Yeah.
Way down deep. All right. So we have a donation from Jerry Karp of $10. Thank you. He says, "Thank you for the inspiration and freely sharing information and telling your story." Yes. Everybody loves a good story, and yours is no exception. It's really quite remarkable.
Right.
Thank you
for your contribution. All right. Next question. We got 14 of them.
All right. Oh boy, here we go. This is the tough one here. Spunky Bear, do you have a general pricing formula you use in pricing your products? A minimum percentage of profit you feel that you may need to make to be viable?
Yep. A general pricing formula. I'm sorry. Well, scoot up. A general pricing formula. I mean, I did a whole video on how I price my products, because that's a very lengthy question. I mean, it depends on so many circumstances. You have your overhead, you have your machine time, your labor, your material cost, etc. That's why I say there is a benefit of you being in your garage, because, versus if I cut a square here versus you cut a square there, you have a lot less overhead. And so your product is going to come out cheaper in the small quantity realm. And so there's that benefit. A minimum percentage of profit I'm looking to have, so profit margin, that's varied, believe it or not, year over year. But roughly, it's a 30% profit margin, 30 to 33%. When I was starting off and growing, though, that's going to be really hard to grow dramatically with that. My docking stations and my piggy banks, I minimum doubled. So if I made it for $1, I'm selling it for $2. And that was just a minimum I've always went with. As I've gotten bigger and start competing in different realms, it's harder to do that. And so I've, at minimum, I'm at 30, 33% margin. And make sure, this is one thing I've always did wrong. It's not the price times 1.3, right? If you're doing a 30% margin, that's a 30% markup. It's price divided by 0.7, and that's a real 30% margin. It sounds silly. There's a lot of videos you can look up on it, but it will save you about 4%. So don't do that.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
One of the things, as if you're just starting off, there's a loss in time that you're going to have to eat, right? You want to make sure you get profit off your materials and a little bit of your time, but a lot of times there's a learning process to refine your process. So you have to be willing to eat that a little bit as you're growing.
Yes. You have learning projects and you have projects you're trying to make money on. Like you do weight those differently. A learning project, make sure you break even, you recoup your cost. But you learned a huge skill from it. And then you have your product line that you know how to make. You're no longer, charging to learn. You're actually charging to make a profit. So at that point,
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, up next we have a Facebook user. How did you go about deciding which CNC machines to upgrade to know which ones would work best for your products?
Great question. So initially the IQ, the Laguna IQ, I just got lucky. I didn't do a lot of research. At the time, there was only at Rockler, there was only the Shark, I believe it was, the Shark HD or something like that. And then there was the IQ. That's pretty much the only two I found. There was one, I think ShopSaver may have just started. And then Panther had one, not Panther, it's a yellow company. They had one called a Panther and a Cobra. I forgot that company. But I looked a little bit. I liked the Laguna because at the time they had good customer service, great customer service. And I didn't know anything about CNCs. And then I went with the Laguna Swift when I upgraded because I needed to cut bigger sheets. And so that was the whole reason for getting it. And I already had one Laguna and it had the same operating system. And once again, I didn't know that much. And so I got that one. When I went over to the ShopSaver, I was messing with a whole bunch of 5 foot by 5 foot sheets. So I knew my table size needed to be a 5 foot wide because I was messing with Baltic birch, which is a 5 by 5 sheet. And I had the space to do a 5 by 10 CNC. So that was where I decided on the table size. Deciding on the spindle size is the next thing. And I knew I was going to be cutting out using 1/2-inch bits to cut out those piggy banks because that's the whole reason I got the ShopSaver. And so I knew I needed a minimum of a 10 horsepower spindle. How did I know that? I talked to people in the industry that were much smarter than me, and they told me I needed to have a 10 horsepower spindle. That was that. And then I actually visited the ShopSaver factory in Minnesota and toured it, and it was built rigid, and I liked it. I like the ball screw over the rack and pinion, my personal opinion on it. And so I went with them because it's literally a couple guys in a welding shop. I say a lot of guys, but they're in a welding shop welding all this stuff with really thick tubing. So that's why I went with the ShopSaver. And because on the ShopSaver, I can fix everything with a screwdriver because I can see all the parts, which I love. And so that's why I got that. And then why I ended up getting the really expensive one is because it had 2 tables. And so and it's 2 heads. And so we can go about 3 times as fast. Cut quality is so amazing on it that, I mean, it's hard to explain, but it's so amazing because that machine is 21,000 pounds that there's no vibrations in the bit. And so I actually saved $20,000 a year just on bit wear and tear because of that machine. So
wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
And just because you got a bit that's not deflecting nearly as much as. Yes,
just because that holder, I mean, that 0.001% little shift, when it rubs just that little bit, and I'm milling out, I'm still using 1/2-inch bits, going as fast as I can. That is one reason. The second reason is the acceleration and deceleration when it's on corners. So I always call it my Lamborghini because it can start and stop really fast, where sometimes smaller machines can't necessarily start. How quickly can they get from 0 to 100 inches a minute?
Yeah.
Some CNCs take 3 inches to do that. This CNC takes 1/4 inch to do that.
Wow.
So I save because it's the correct chip load most of the time. And so that was a huge thing that I didn't know at the time when I was getting it. I knew it was going to be faster, but I never calculated in the bit wear and tear savings from that. So.
All right, cool.
That's pretty cool. I like your analogy.
Yeah. The Ferrari thing, how fast it, and that's a big deal as you get bigger. Right?
Yeah. It's not necessarily a big deal when you're small. People ask me like, "Oh, I'm not running at the correct chip load." It's like, yeah, but you're not cutting out that much stuff either. Like yes, it is very important to run at the correct chip load if possible. But, if you have a 3/8 bit on there, your little CNC most likely cannot get to, 600 inches a minute, because you don't have a big enough spindle that can handle that, and the motors can't handle that. So It's okay. You have to run it a little bit. You may burn up that bit a little bit faster. But in my shop, we go through $50,000 of bits a year. And so if I'm not using them properly and I'm cutting them twice as fast, that costs me $50,000. So it's important for me. But if you're going through $300 of bits a year, or even $100 in bits, it's not crazy, because if you hurt the machine, it's not as expensive. So anyways, it just compiles. But I mean, I still use my little CNC. I know I'm not doing the correct chip load, but it's okay. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm not running it 40 hours a week every single day. And I have a $20 bit in there instead of a $200 bit that goes in my big CNCs. So that's a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Before we hit the next question, we are at 9:34 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to keep going. We're going to knock out the 10 questions we got sitting there. Just a couple things, or just as we say every half an hour. First of all, we got Ryan Drapela from the YouTube channel, Cutting It Close. And if you haven't seen him, it's a very good channel. He's got a lot of business education on there, types of products you can sell, and he tells his journey. I would highly recommend you check out some of his stuff. So subscribe to his channel. IDC Woodcraft, if you're getting into CNC, you're just starting out, of course, subscribe to this channel. IDC Woodcraft is a CNC router bit supplier for the home-based market. That's what I tend to focus on. And so if you're looking to get some router bits, maybe give us a shot if you haven't. And of course, we have Kate Tucker from Women Who CNC. And Kate has the Women Who CNC women only Facebook group. So if you are a female creator, go find Women Who CNC on Facebook and join up. And she's got an amazing crew that's joining that group. And of course, she has her YouTube channel as well. Down below in the description is how you can access all this and everything I've talked about. And the CNC Insiders is an email list that IDC Woodcraft has. So you get emails with tips. If you're brand new, they're very helpful tips. And being a CNC Insider, you will get discounts on new products as I release them. I've got 2 in the pipeline I'm working on right now. And then there's also a sign up for Ryan down below in the description as well. So it's a new page, but I'm sure knowing Ryan, as driven as he is, he's going to come up with something that's going to help you out.
Oh yeah. It's big. It's going to be good.
Well, very good. All right. Well, if you are ready, we will dive back in here. We have a great question from Linda. It says, Ryan, do you have certain seasonal items that you concentrate, or on any
recipe, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure. For the spring. Any ideas for the spring?
What are you waving about, Julianne? She's out there just waving away.
Solar eclipse ideas for the solar eclipse in April.
Oh.
That's right. On April 8th is the eclipse that's coming through our area. Excellent. Yes. Zone in on that now. It's a trend market. It's a fad market. But think about this, Ryan. You got any ideas on things people could?
For the eclipse specifically?
Yeah.
No, honestly. But I know very little about eclipses, so I probably wouldn't be the best one to ask. But that is a fantastic thing. That's a fantastic idea. I mean, what I made my bread and butter on with the docking stations was Father's Day was actually bigger than Christmas for us. We were the #1 men's gift on Etsy for 2 years.
Wow.
So, Father's Day in a 6-week period, we do, 50% of our sales for the whole entire year in a 6-week period. So it was Valentine's Day, Father's Day, and then finally Christmas. And so, like I said, focusing on a seasonal thing, St. Patrick's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, to dad from daughter was always a really good, prompt. It was always a really good gift prompt. These eclipse ideas, they're fantastic. Easter egg stuff. There's that you're on the right track, Linda. That
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a kind of a one-time shot. But eclipses do happen all over the world on a pretty regular basis. On this one, what you want to do is get on the Facebook groups where they're talking, right? When it comes to business and figuring out niches, when you're zeroing in on what you want to do, like Ryan said, if you're good at it, go find those Facebook groups and start making something, see what they like, and then make something around it and post it in there. But engage, don't be a lone wolf in the group.
Yep.
That's a beautiful, fantastic. Thank you.
And what I think right after that, those same people that probably like eclipse are probably like zodiac symbols and Orion's belt and stuff like that. And then your CNC is perfect to make all of those little points and make those zodiacs and do a little writing and inscription about it. So that's
Here's one thing for you, just to brainstorm. Make a little hanger, like they have the calendar hangers so you can hang each day, but I've been to this eclipse, right? And then now they can buy the every time there's an eclipse, they can buy from you. Have a QR code on the back though, so they can scan it and find you.
Yeah, or the different phases of the eclipse.
Yeah,
like those, I know those are really popular. But I know those the specialty holidays are a very big thing. And Ryan, just like you, Mother's Day was the biggest time of the year for me with the sign parties, because it was all about the husbands. Anymore, it's like the new trend for parents, grandparents, and things like that. It's not so much like a gift, because anymore everything is so instantaneous. You can buy something on TikTok, you can buy something on Facebook, you can buy something on Amazon. Everything is so quick, and if you want it, a lot of people just buy it. So these seasons roll around and they're like, what do I get my wife? What do I get my husband? Because it's just really difficult. So now the big trend is experiences. So like, for instance, my best friend and I bought they're called Get Out passes for the kids. So it's a bunch of different places around the city of Louisville, which is where she lives. We go to visit, and the kids can go to like Sky Zone, which is like a trampoline park. And then they can go here and they can go there. So it's really interesting to see how that if that has any type of an effect on our industry, because like I was saying earlier, the paint parties were the biggest thing, because it's an experience to get your wife out of the house, away from the kids, go do something for her that is just about her and her friends. So that personalized efforts is really, there's a very upward trending momentum of getting something personalized, doing an experience, making it more about the person that you're gifting it to versus just, something plain like, here's another gift.
Yep.
People love that. I know it's even crazy, but I see all these like personalized painting of dogs. But I've seen an art recently that's really cool. I think it's like Intra-Asia or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but it's where you're using all these different woods and you're basically putting puzzles of pieces of like animals together, or you're making a photo of different colors wood. And I've seen a lot of CNCers kind of niching down and doing specific art paintings like that. So it's kind of interesting to see how the CNC world is changing a little bit. We're really starting to see a lot more artistry come out.
Yep.
So absolutely. Sorry, a little sidebar there. All right. Do you guys want to take another question?
Yep. Bring it on.
All right. Ronald Bowser, what strategies did you use to build a strong brand in the woodworking industry?
It's a good question too.
Yep. So broadly speaking, there is nothing that in my humble opinion, it's very hard to invent something that's going to grow like a tech product, right? Or going to grow like a Stanley Cup, right? That's out of wood, because the amount of people that are going to come in there and try to knock you off, it's very hard to patent wood products, because you can literally, like, if you have a water bottle, right? Like, the amount of people that can actually make these water bottles in the world are not, there's a handful of them, right? But the amount of people that can make stuff out of wood in the world are, millions, right? And so building a brand on wood, you don't have the innovation on your side as far as giant, massive innovations that are world changing, right? Because wood's been around for thousands of years. You're not going to innovate, most likely. You're going to have once again, good products, but you're not gonna be able to innovate. So building a brand on woodworking revolves around building consistency over a longer period of time, because you don't have that giant pop, right? That, you just thought of the Stanley Cup and everybody's buying them, right? It's like, well,
Right.
if there's a wood version of the Stanley Cup, 10,000 other manufacturers would start making it and dilute your product down.
Yeah.
So what you have to do over time is slowly build your audience. And that's the only way to do it. That I have found. The good part about that is you build a better, stronger audience over time. And if somebody ever wants to take that audience from you, they have to spend that length of time that you built your audience. And so they can't just come in there and take it. So it's a double-edged sword where it takes longer to build, but it's a more solid foundation than something that's, you always see the skyscrapers that are kind of wobbly. You have a very solid foundation, kind of like a pyramid. So branding your products, make sure you always have a brand. I would steer away from just doing like a singular, logo. Make sure it's searchable. I see a lot of people make this mistake on YouTube. They'll make their product and they'll put H on it, and that's their logo. And it's like, well, 5 years from now, because that product's going to last a long time, they're going to show somebody and they'll be like, I don't remember where the heck I got this from. It has an H. Don't do that. Put your full name, put your website, whatever you need to do on there. So whenever they see it years from now and somebody's still complimenting on it, and they're like, yeah, I don't know where I got this from, and I've had it for years. This thing's awesome. They flip it over, they see your brand, or they look on the side and see your brand, and it says, instead of saying H or some random acronym, it says, awesomewoodworks.com, and you're like, oh, that's where I got it from. And that helps. And so that's my biggest critique of a lot of people is they don't either brand it, and when they do brand it, it's not a searchable brand. So there's really no point in branding it in the first place.
Yeah, and I can tell you from experience, Ryan is dead on, right? I am building IDC Woodcraft as a brand, and it takes time. It takes time. You've got to be in their face. Like, you buy router bits, you buy over $100, you get the coffee mug, but what's on it? There's a brand on it. You're getting stickers. You're finding IDC Woodcraft on YouTube, and you're finding me in a lot of places. I'm building a brand. I'm building a product brand at the same time. It just takes time. Brand, but to the other note is you have to be in a niche if you're going to build a brand. You can't just make wood products and have a wood product brand without being in a niche. So like Kate made your fire dancers, right? And so those are based around a brand, which was Dave Matthews. Was that right?
Yeah.
And just by hitting that, she started making a whole bunch of sales in this one thing, right?
It was nuts.
But that's not. But she piggybacked on a brand.
Yep. Yeah, that's one mistake that I did is I named mine, because it's way back when, I named it Drapela Works. I should have named it something differently in hindsight. So anything I start moving forward will be named after the niche that I'm doing. If I'm making boot jacks, it will be Bill's Boot Jacks, whatever, right? But it's going to be that name. And so it's like, where'd you buy that boot jack from? Bill's Boot Jacks. Like, oh my gosh, that's great. Your company is your name, is the searchable thing that you're doing. And that's very important.
And the closer you can get your business brand into the name that they're going to be looking for, the better it is.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
We're sitting on 8 questions still, guys, and it's we got 10 minutes to go.
All right.
I can get through these. I really want to try to answer everybody's. I can see if I can.
We'll do it. We'll get through all the 8. We'll get through all of it.
All right, let's do it. We've got a question from Dennis. How much of your business is original designs you come up with, and how much is custom work for specific customers?
Almost all of it now is original designs. I rarely do custom works for specific customers unless it's for a mentor of mine that's helped me out tremendously. I have stayed away from custom work. Now, ask me that, in the first 4 years of business, the majority of it was custom work because I was paying down, I call it a ignorance tax. I was paying down the ignorance tax of not knowing exactly what the heck I was doing. And so I was letting customers kind of pay my way through. So I wasn't making as much money as I could, but I was paying down the ignorance tax that I have because my lack of woodworking knowledge and skill and money and everything else. Right.
Right.
But now that I feel like I'm well versed enough in woodworking and in skill sets that taking on custom projects does not benefit me as much as it used to. So I do not do it anymore. And I focus on doing what makes me, and I say the most money, what makes sure my business is stable so my 23 employees can keep having a job.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to look at it.
Yep.
All right, let's see who we've got up next. We've got a question from Wayne. How do you test a new idea? What do you consider a good product to put into production?
This is one that I've gotten better with over the years. I would say I was thinking of this the other day. Like if I ever had to go get another job and put something on a resume, it'd be like, I know how to operate CNCs. I know how to do good woodworking. There you go. And I can handle customer service, but my number one skill, so like, it's not much skill. So like, what is the innate thing that I'm pretty good at? And it's knowing what's going to sell and what's not going to sell just off of a hunch. And so it's really hard for me to explain that. I've gotten better. I've honed that intuition over a number of years, but that's the one thing that it's very hard for me to teach. I can look at something and know that's going to sell. Now there's like multiple variables I'm pulling in, but there is some kind of basis for it of like, is it different? If you're smaller, is it personalized? Is it different enough? Do I use a different wood? Do I offer the maximum of 5 colors or maximum of 5? Never do more than 5. 3 is kind of a good number. I never do more than 5. I see people that do 10 different. You get paralysis by analysis from those customers, and they have too many options. My sweet spot that I found is 5, and recently I've gone down to 3 on most things because you have your bubbly font, you have your cursive font, and you have your Times New Roman or Century Bold. Like there's the 3. If they don't like any of those, then so be it. Like they got their cursive, they got their bubbly, or they got their fat, and they got their other one. So that's typically what I stick with. So when I'm testing out something, I still have flops, but it just kind of depends on where I'm testing it at. If I'm testing on, like a test, you'll never do a complete flop, right? You're never, unless you're just so far off of reality, you're not going to make something that's not going to sell at all. So you'll make a small batch of them, you'll see, and maybe it takes you 30 days to turn over that item instead of the 10 days that you thought it would, or it'll take you 3 months, right? Instead of the 1 month that you thought. And so it's a longer period. And so you just kind of gauge it by that and say, you know what, like I thought this product's going to fly off the shelves and it didn't. Good thing is I'm making the product. I didn't buy it. It didn't take 6 months to come overseas. And so, you know what, scrap that one. Let me try this next one. And then you study that product. Why didn't it sell? Is there's not a market for it? Is, what's wrong with that product? And then you can innovate on it, and maybe you innovate on it and it sells really well. Typically, like let's say you're doing a tray, if the tray is not a unique shape, sometimes it doesn't sell or it doesn't have a unique function. Everybody wants to be unique. And typically most people want their name on it, or the person they're buying for. Very rarely do I get somebody that's buying it for themselves. So,
yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers the question. It's kind of a broad answer, but that's one of the things it's the most difficult to teach, I would say.
Yes, I would agree. All right. So we have a question from Richard. Ryan, how do you ship your products and charging for shipping?
Yep. So I ship with all methods. Nowadays, I ship with FedEx, UPS, USPS. That's my 3. Yeah. But there's ShipStation is absolutely fantastic. You do not have to be a big seller to go on ShipStation, and it saves a ton of money. It's great. It integrates with websites. It integrates with Etsy. It integrates with most things. And literally you just click a couple buttons and all your orders will start inputting into there. You may have to watch a video or 2, and you can also do manual orders in there. That right off the rip is going to save you about 25% off of any label that you're going to buy directly from UPS or FedEx or anybody else, or USPS. So that one's really good. That's what I still use that to date. Now I've gotten big enough where I have contracts and stuff comes out, we do about $800,000 of shipping in a year with our products. But yeah, I'm not biased. I use whatever's cheaper and fastest. Like that's it. And I try to steer away from USPS as much as possible, but they are very good at shipping small products. But UPS and FedEx are a lot more reliable on terms of a massive scale than USPS. But USPS sure is pretty good at shipping smaller things. How do I charge? I charge shipping whether the customer sees it right in their face and they're paying $10 for it, or it's $10 lumped into the price, I charge for it. So if I have a $30 product and I got to offer free shipping on it, it's now a $39.99 product, and it has free shipping. So there is no such thing as free shipping.
There is no such thing as free shipping.
So you're always going to be charging for it. You'll always have that into your pricing. Just it depends if you want to show the customer they're paying for shipping or it's lumped into the price.
Yep. That's a big thing on Etsy is the free shipping. Everybody loves free shipping.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So, all right. We've got a great question here from Dan. He said, question, how do you stay motivated when faced with setbacks and failures?
So I'm kind of a weird cookie. I have two different places I typically go. I always say, man, if it's this hard for me just imagine somebody else. And if I get through this, the other guy's going to quit at this point in time. And so if I have a big drawback or a big learning curve, you know what? Most people would probably quit at this point. And if I keep moving forward, I'm putting myself on a different level. And so whenever I'm faced with something like that, that's my mindset I go into. If I can be in that zone of like, man, this is hard. Most people would stop here and I'm just going to keep going because that's where most people would stop. And that gets me a ton. I mean, that's gotten me out of most of my worst places is because most people would quit. So I'm not, because I'm going to beat most people. And so that helps me and that just keeps me leveling up. The other place that I go, and it's not always, and I say there's two places. I used to always think there's one place and you got to get yourself in that mindset. You have different days. You have days that, you love feeling the wind on your face, and you have some other days that the wind's too much on your face and it's blowing your hair everywhere and you're pissed off, right? There's different days. So the other place that I go is, and this one's more consistent because there's little minor things that just come up over the course of a day that, just gets me angry. And I don't think, most people would quit because this is a mean customer. Like, you can't get in that mindset.
Nope.
But what I do is, this is for me personally, I was born into a great family. I'm in America. It's awesome. I love my life and I don't have cancer. I'm not dead. I have all my limbs and I get to do what I love is woodworking. So I'm going to make the best of it. And like, who has it better than I? And so that's where I stay most of the time is who has it better than I. Like if you're mad when, you're doing woodworking, like imagine the people in the world that would kill to do woodworking in their garage or, for a living, like, for fun, like the amount of people that would kill to do that. And if you're down because a project kicked your butt or, you're not motivated to do it, just imagine all the people that would absolutely kill to be in your place. And so that's my frame of mind most of the time. And then if it's in a really dark place, this is where most people would stop. I'm going to keep going because most people would quit.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that.
It's a really good question too. I mean, for business owners, the three business owners you're looking at here, we know we have to keep going. Quitting, when we hit those hard spots, we've got to find a way to justify keep going, because for us that any step backwards, if we quit, we failed ourselves. We're in competition with ourselves.
Oh, right? It's terrible.
And there's no stopping. It's where is it? This is my message to myself that I carved out on my machine, right? And it's to make sure on those days, I see this every single day.
I mean, there's a lot of pivoting in business. It's not always going to be everything that you think it's going to be. I mean, for those of you that have been following along with my journey, I mean, I had a paint party business, and then COVID hit, and that shut all of that down. And then I started selling paint party kits online. I built a website to keep the business moving, and so I did that. And then I bought my CNC, and then the paint party business was just having a really hard time getting its momentum back up, and so I pivoted into doing custom work. And then I found, kind of like Ryan did, it's, you have to work and you have to find all of these little things that just eat up all the time because you're not paying yourself for the time. And then it's just this constant struggle of your checks and balances. And then it was like, okay, well, now I'm pivoting into being a Vectric teacher. I teach one-on-ones. A lot of new beginners come to me and they want to know how to use Vectric, and I walk them through it with multiple sessions or one-on-ones for projects. And it's been a very transformative journey. So I guess, like Garrett said, the three owners you see before you, we just have that won't quit, can't quit, just spirit. You just keep moving forward. You just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, and with that spirit, you will find, once you get past those failures, you will find that magic bullet, right? And it makes all the difference. By the way, Kate does one-on-one with Vectric. Down below in the description of the video, there's a link to schedule some time with her if you're struggling on a project.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and knock out the rest of these questions. We've got 4 left. All right, Ryan, here we go. From Terry, how would you recommend managing the demand from selling online? I know you were getting 200 plus orders a day with a desktop CNC. Would be impossible to meet the expected delivery times.
I just got to say, hey, Liberty, would you like to have 200 orders a day? Go ahead.
So, Terry, this is just a math question. How do I recommend managing the demand from selling online? One, if you're not selling 200 plus orders a day currently, then don't worry about it till you get there. Like, you wouldn't believe the amount of creativity you'll come up with whenever you're stuck with that. Like, you will figure out a way to get them out. You will do math and figure it out. The most orders we've ever shipped out in a day are 1,700. We've shipped out 1,700 packages in one day. That is the most.
We need to be talking to you, don't we?
Yeah, so 1,700 on average during Christmas time. Now we're shipping out about 600 orders a day. But when we're in my parents' house, we shipped out 1,700 orders in one day. And all I did math. Okay, it takes 3 minutes to package this, or the CNC's running, right? And it takes, it was 3 minutes on the CNC on average, unless we did logos, and then it took 10 minutes. And so we wouldn't do logos at all. We would tell those customers they're getting it a day late, and we do all the quick ones, the ones that take 3 minutes instead of 10 minutes, and we would do all of those. And we'd run it 24 hours a day, obviously at those times, and we would try to get our change out time as quick as possible. So maybe we have the other one, like, we got it down to like a 7-second change out time on this stuff. We built jigs and we got it down, and so it was like, okay, what's our capacity? Well, our capacity is at 3 minutes a piece with a 7-second change out time. We can do 19 orders an hour. We have 200 orders to do simple math. You have, what is that, like 10 hours, right? 10, 11 hours. And so it's just a math game at that point. And then if you really get in a bind, you find another CNCer, and I've done this, and you find them and you give them a jig, and you say, hey, I'll pay you X amount per program that you run. I just need another CNC because I'm in over my head for these next 3 days. Or you reach out to your customers and say, hey, we're right. And I've done this multiple times. Hey guys, I'm exhausted. We are working 24 hours a day currently to get out all the orders. If you need it by this expected delivery date that you bought it on, please let me know and I'll get it out. If not, I will ship it out in 2 days. And you're usually about 70% of them will say, you know what, ship it out whenever you can. And 30% will say, I need it by that date. And so you do those 30% and then don't do those 70%. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, but don't worry about it until I wouldn't put too much weight on that until you get to that point in time. until you're at that 200 orders a day, and you'll figure it out quite quickly.
Yep. Very good. All right. Up next is Dave. I think one of your videos that add customization, like engraved names, was a good way to increase income. Is there a limit of fonts for personalization that you would give to a product?
Yep. 5, max of 5. Max of 5.
He covered that one before. So.
Yep. Yeah. That's a really important point. I mean, do not be a snow cone stand. I always tell people, do not be a snow cone stand. Don't offer 500 flavors. Just don't do that. No, offer sweet tea, sweet, unsweet, lemonade. There you go. Like, that's what you get. That's the best way to look at it. Anything over 5 confuses everybody. And there's the 80-20 principle that comes into effect. Even if I had over 10 different fonts, one of them, the top 2 took over 80% of the orders. When I went down to 5 fonts, the number 1 font took 80% of the orders. So it didn't matter if I had, it's typically 1 font that's going to take the majority of them. So.
Got it. All right. Well, we have a rather comical question from Cornerstone Woodworks. Ryan, is there such a thing as cutting it too close?
That's why they invented the saw stop table saw. There is such a thing as cutting it a little too close. Yeah, I get that. Fun. The reason for cutting it close is because we've always been, the reason for the name is we were always in a rush shipping out our products because we had those late nights and stuff like that. We had where I barely finished a project and we're rubbing oil on it as we're like driving to the place and trying to shine it up, etc. So I always told all my guys, like, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right, because this is how we've always been in a rush, like never have our stuff together. So that's where the name comes from.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right. So we have one last question here from Madeline. So proud of my husband. Oh, this is your wife. So incredibly proud of my husband and everything that he has accomplished thus far. You never cease to amaze me, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. That is really beautiful.
Honey. Thank you, honey.
What a way to take the last comment here.
Yeah.
And Madeline, it's a pleasure to meet you, by the way.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
She's a real winner. She puts up with the late nights and everything, and she's been there. She actually works in the business with me. So I have both my parents, 2 brothers, a cousin, and my wife. Wow. And then we have the 20 other people. So it's definitely a family ran business.
Well, that's where it all, that's at the heartbeat of every business. I'm blessed with a big family myself. So I know exactly what you're saying. There were many days when I'm like, I've got 4 kids and a wonderful husband I've been married to for quite some time now, and they're everything. I'm like, you got to pull it together, people. Pull up your bootstraps because we got work to do.
Yep.
So I love it. But Ryan, I did have one question for you, and it's kind of been pressing on my mind because I do have a website and I did have an Etsy shop. Why did you choose Etsy over your own website? Because Etsy has such a, they do have, that fees and everything else that they take, and you pay for the advertising. Do you feel like at some point that Etsy you would just kind of like move away from Etsy and kind of do your own thing?
Yeah. And that's a question that definitely needs to get addressed. So initially why I got on Etsy is because I didn't have time to build a website and I didn't know anything about the internet or online stuff. I was country. I was like super podunk country. Like, yeah, I didn't know how a USB port worked. And so I got on Etsy because I didn't know anything about anything, and that's initially why I got on there. Hindsight now, why I think Etsy is still a good option is because if you don't understand how to run ads and how to market with SEO and do not have a big social media following, Etsy is going to draw that crowd to you and charge you 10% for it or 11%, right? And that's okay, because now that I have a website and I run ads and I try to do all this stuff, it costs me over 10% to get a new customer. It costs me over 10% to attract the new customer. Now, does it cost less money if they rebuy from me? Yeah, I don't have to pay that 10%. Or, it's really, I mean, sometimes it takes up to 50%. if you have a website, sometimes it takes you up to 50% of the cost of the product to attract a customer. And so now the next time they buy is where you make your money, right? And that's how most websites operate, where Etsy only charges you 10%. So the fees, in my eyes, are very negligible, and you can always put that into your cost because everybody else is paying them too. So it's a really flat level playing field. Now, what I like about Etsy and how you think about it, I would, if I had absolutely nothing, I would do an Etsy shop first and then build my website, because Etsy is going to teach you basic SEO with your tags. You're going to have your descriptions, you're going to have your product photos already. So it's a lot easier to go on Shopify and build your own website. I don't recommend paying people $10,000 to build a Shopify website because they're actually pretty simple. I built all of mine, and let me tell you, I am very not skilled at building websites, like not even a little bit, but it only takes me, 10 hours to build a website, because you already have the pictures from Etsy and all that stuff. So you're there. And then the equation you're trying to figure out is, of my Etsy orders, how many people do I funnel to my website and how many purchase from my website? And so you can easily do that with sticking note cards in your orders with coupon codes. You can easily do that with thank you notes. You can, and the coupon codes work good because you can track it. I sold 100, I sold to 100 people on Etsy, and I've gotten 10 orders from my website. Therefore, I'm converting 10%. So if I want to grow my email list to 1,000 people, I need to sell 10,000 things on Etsy. And Etsy is driving that traffic to your thing and only charging you 10%, where if you're running ads generally for your website, it's going to cost you over that 10%. So I think Etsy is very good for that. There is certain products that are not good Etsy products, but you don't know until you're in that game. And I can't tell you specifically, but there's just certain things that are more of an Amazon type product or more of a website type product, and not because there's maybe more background, more depth to it that you can't explain in just a simple Etsy picture, or maybe it's not very searchable, right? Etsy is more of where Amazon's is searchable for product specific things like, giant phone case, right? People aren't going to Etsy and typing in giant phone case. They're going and typing in anniversary gifts, Father's Day gifts, gifts for barbecuers, so it's more of a occasion driven search term. And Amazon is more of a product-based search term. A website is really good for stuff that requires a lot of depth and learning and has some kind of a community built around it. So if you're you make Dungeons and Dragons board games, like that's more of a website product. Like that's not really an Amazon one, that's not really an Etsy one. That's more of a website-driven product because you have a community that's based around it. IDC Woodcraft, good example. That's a website-based thing. That's not really an Etsy product. That's not really, it is an Amazon product, but nobody's going to be searching for a 1/4 inch rougher, like that's not going to happen. You have to know that Garrett Fromme has an IDC Woodcraft, you watch the channel, right? So that's where that comes in at. So it just really depends. But if you can get down that formula, that's what we started doing. And one of the simplest ways to get an email is email the person after they buy and say, just on Etsy, and say, hey, can I have your email address to add to our newsletter? You can ask it. Don't try to spruce it up. Say, when I come out with new products, because I hope you love the product. Can I have your email to add to our newsletter so you can get updates? Because they know what email. They know when they give you their email what's going to happen, right? And we have about a 20% opt-in rate with that.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So that's what I look at Etsy. Etsy's more of a mouthpiece, and then you can build your website based off of Etsy. And then when your website's big enough and you feel comfortable, then you cut Etsy and then you have your website and you have your audience.
Yeah.
I'll add on top of that with the Etsy thing is, so I see a lot of people complaining about the fees. You're paying a service to help you, right? And so we're going to pay, and you want to accept that because that's just part of business. It's like shipping and buying all the stuff that we have to buy for shipping, right? There's lots of expenses that go on in the background, but Etsy fees are just something you embrace.
Yep. And they're not actually that expensive. Amazon charges 15%. Etsy charges roughly 10%. And Fair used to charge 25%. And now they're charging, I think, 15%. Fair is another marketplace. But so that's 10% is not bad from Etsy. And then advertising fees, you got to do them to keep the Etsy gods happy. So that is what it is. You just have it built into your price.
Yeah. And I love how you broke down all of the different, platforms and what to look for, the product or the specialty gift, or, like a specialty gift, like you said, like the Dungeons and Dragons. Like that's a very specific item. Like you're going to look for, you're going to be involved in some different groups. Those people that are going to want to buy those types of products. It was the same concept when I made all those crazy fire dancers for a Dave Matthews things. I made it for one friend that is a mom friend of my son, and I posted it onto my my Facebook business site. Somebody saw it and she said, "You need to post these in these groups." I couldn't even answer the Dave Matthews fan questions to get into the groups, but she was so sure that they were going to sell like hotcakes that she helped me answer these crazy questions to get into the groups, and they sold like wildfire. But that was something I did. I posted that on my website so people could find those. And you're right. It's that specialty, item that's really gonna sell on your website versus something like what you could have on Etsy, where you have thousands of people searching every day for specialty items.
Yep. And it's more broad search terms. Yeah. The more you look at the mouthpiece, right? Like Etsy is probably the top of anniversary gifts for men. And then like Amazon, they'll type in, cutting board for my husband, right? Like they won't even add that. It'll just be cutting board because they know what they're searching for. That's why they're on Amazon. On their own Etsy, because they want inspiration. Etsy is almost like a Pinterest. They want inspiration. So they don't know exactly what they're looking for. So they're hoping Etsy gives them the ideas. And so, that's why that's why I've built stuff on Etsy at the time. But we have slowly gotten a lot of emails from Etsy because we did a couple $100,000 or a couple 100,000 sales. And so we ended up building a pretty good email base there. So,
yeah, well, I think that's fantastic. That explanation was perfect. I think it was a great way to wrap up the evening.
Yeah.
Kind of just puts everybody a little bit over the hump where they need to, start focusing. You've given so many insightful tips and very inspirational story. I know you got really hit up with quite a few questions. So just want to say thank you for dropping in and spending 2 hours and almost 20 minutes with us here live. I know all of the people in the community.
Plus the half hour you showed up beforehand.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm very happy to do it. And I love y'all's channels. I love what y'all are doing. And, I think the CNC community is really going to grow. And I love woodworking because it's one of the most humblest and there's no, that's a reason I'm in it. It's very humble and there's no amount of technology that's going to make a tree grow any different. A tree is a tree and you're still going to have to sand. No matter how much AI is out there, you still got to sand a product. And I absolutely love that. And that's why I like being a part of woodworking. And we're showing that off. And if I can be a young guy in the industry trying to preach that, that's what I'm here to do as well.
Amen.
Yep.
Love that.
All right. Well, everyone, make sure that those that haven't, go to Ryan's channel, Cutting It Close, subscribe. Remember, Kate has a Women Who CNC YouTube channel, IDC Woodcraft YouTube channel, and links down below in the videos, the description for things we've talked about. Keep on creating. Ryan, thank you for taking the time out. Even we've learned a bit here. Yeah, we always have something to give each other. And so thank you. And I think put a yes in the comments if we should have Ryan back again. We'll just give it a minute here. Let's see some yeses come up.
Yes. I just want to pull this comment out from Mark. He says, remember, you can do this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Here come the yeses. All right. Well, we'll work you back in there, Ryan. Thank you for taking some time. Brothers and sisters, keep on creating. And me, Kate, Ryan, wish you good night and have a great tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes.